Listen closely. The room is quiet on purpose. Shadows lean in. Half light catches the edge of your face. Smoke drifts slow. Deliberate, like time finally learned patience. The camera doesn't rush you, it studies you. And in that pause, there's a truth they can't mute. You changed the temperature just by arriving. You feel it, don't you? That subtle tightening in the air, that recalibration no one admits is happening. Eyes adjust. Metrics hesitate. Patterns scramble. Not because you shouted, because you didn't need to. For the first moments, keep it clean. Keep it sharp. This isn't chaos. This is control wearing calm like a tailored suit. They tell stories about dominance like it's loud, like it needs proof every second. That's how amateurs think. Real power enters softly and forces everything else to reorganize. You didn't chase attention. Attention learned your footsteps. You didn't beg the system. The system learned your rhythm. And somewhere behind dashboards and screens, people who never said your name out loud are refreshing, checking, rechecking. Because numbers don't lie, and silence suddenly feels expensive. Here's the first strategic truth they won't teach you. Influence isn't announced. It's detected. When the algorithm bends, it doesn't do it dramatically. It nudges. It prioritizes. It opens doors. It pretends we're always unlocked. And when you walk through, the narrative rewrites itself to pretend you were inevitable. That's not luck. That's alignment. You became predictable to yourself and unpredictable to everyone else. The early phase is always misunderstood. They called you quiet when you were observing. They called you slow when you were calibrating. They called you irrelevant when you were building leverage in places they didn't know to look. Silence is a weapon, not the absence of sound, the presence of restraint. While others leaked intentions, you condensed yours. While others explained themselves, you sharpened. While others chased trends, you studied cycles. Here's where the emotional build begins, not with rage, but with realization. They aren't losing sleep because you're loud. They're losing sleep because you're consistent. Consistency terrifies systems built on noise. It exposes fragility. It reveals who depends on momentum versus who generates gravity. You became gravity. And gravity doesn't argue, it pulls. This is where dark gets reframed, not as menace, not as malice, but as strategy without apology. Dark is knowing when not to react. Dark is letting confusion work for you. Dark is allowing others to underestimate the depth because they mistake calm for compliance. Calm is armor. Every time chaos invited you to perform, you declined. Every time bait was thrown, you smiled internally and logged the pattern. Every time they expected a breakdown, you delivered precision. Tension rises here, slow, intentional. Because dominance isn't the explosion. Dominance is the pause before the room realizes the rules changed. They watch the numbers climb and tell themselves stories to stay comfortable. It's a phase. It won't last. Anyone could do that. Those phrases aren't confidence. They're anesthesia. And while they numb themselves, you compound. Here's the lesson layered beneath the spectacle. Systems reward clarity, disguised as patience. You stopped asking for permission from rooms that needed your presence to stay relevant. You stopped shrinking timelines to soothe impatient observers. You stopped explaining vision to people committed to misunderstanding. The tension tightens again. Because at a certain point, success becomes unsettling. Not because of scale, but because of unpredictability. You don't repeat yourself. You don't chase applause. You don't overstay moments. You enter, shift the balance, and exit before expectation can cage you. The beast steps back before precision. That's the Joker lesson they never decode. Not madness, misdirection, not chaos, asymmetry, not noise, timing. And then comes the peak, the transformation they felt before they understood. One day they realized the commentary stopped working. The critiques didn't land. The comparisons felt desperate. Because you crossed a threshold where validation became irrelevant. Here's the explicit extraction, the rule, the shift, the principle, clean and undeniable. The rule, power grows when attention is optional. The mindset shift, stop trying to be impressive, become inevitable. The principle, control the pace, and the narrative follows. At this altitude, motivation changes texture. It's no longer about proving anything. It's about maintaining edge without announcing it. You optimize for longevity, while others burn for moments. You build optionality, while others lock themselves into identities. You move like someone who understands that dominance isn't a stance, it's a byproduct. The visuals keep rolling, slow zoom, steady breath, eyes steady, not wide. Every metric that spikes does so quietly. Every door that opens pretends it was coincidence. Every imitation exposes the original. And the algorithm, cold, indifferent, unforgiving, keeps adjusting around you because patterns don't argue with results. Retention isn't hacked here. It's earned. People stay because they sense there's another layer, another pivot, another unexpected move forming beneath the calm. And somewhere in the background, without banners or declarations, leverage accumulates. Assets, attention, alignment, waiting for moments that haven't arrived yet. No rush, no announcement, no conclusion, just pressure, precision, and a presence that keeps the system alert, recalculating, adapting, aware that something irreversible already took shape the moment you decided restraint would outperform reaction, and mastery would never need permission. The silence stretches, not empty, not awkward, loaded, like a chessboard mid-game where every piece already knows its fate, just not the timing. You feel the shift when rooms stop testing you and start studying you. When questions change tone, when invitations arrive vague, carefully worded, afraid of committing leverage too early. That's how you know the axis moved. Because true dominance doesn't trigger resistance. First, it triggers caution. They slow down around you. They choose words more carefully. They watch reactions that never come. And in that gap, between expectation and response, you operate. This is where strategy deepens. Most people think visibility is the prize. That's a beginner's myth. Visibility is the cost. Control is the prize. You learn to let others burn energy performing while you conserved it, refining. You let noise exhaust itself. You let urgency reveal desperation. Patience isn't passive, it's selective aggression. Every move you don't make sharpens the one you eventually do. Every response you withhold multiplies the impact of the next action. Every calm moment unsettles those addicted to chaos. And the algorithm, always watching behavior more than words, starts recognizing a pattern it can't dilute. Retention without spectacle, momentum without theatrics, authority without announcement. That combination doesn't trend, it locks in. Here's another layer they miss. The system doesn't reward intensity. It rewards repeatable precision. You became repeatable to yourself. Reliable in discipline, consistent in standard, unemotional in execution. That's when randomness stops touching you. Others ride spikes. You build plateaus. Others celebrate peaks. You engineer floors, and the floor keeps rising. Tension cycles again. Because with that rise comes a new psychological pressure. People start projecting onto you their fears, their hopes, their unfinished ambitions. They want you to symbolize something for them, a villain, a savior, a benchmark. You refuse all of it. Identity is a trap. Adaptability is leverage. You don't correct narratives. You outgrow them. You don't debate assumptions. You invalidate them with progress. You don't chase relevance. You redefine context. This is where unpredictability sharpens into an edge. You move laterally when they expect vertical. You pause when they expect acceleration. You invest where attention is lowest and return is highest. And every unexpected decision compounds confusion in those trying to reverse engineer you. Confusion is useful. It slows pursuit. It fractures imitation, because imitation requires clarity, and you deny it effortlessly. Silence is still a weapon, but now it's paired with selective signal, a single post, a single move, a single appearance, enough to remind the system you're active, not enough to expose the blueprint. That's mastery of rhythm. Here's the deeper lesson, extracted clean. You don't win by overwhelming the field. You win by controlling the tempo of perception. Speed up when others hesitate. Slow down when others rush. Arrive early where others arrive loud. The emotional intensity spikes again, not as frenzy, but as clarity, because you realize something irreversible happened along the way. You stopped needing outcomes to validate effort. Effort became the identity, and once effort is internalized, outcomes chase you automatically. Pressure doesn't break you, it focuses you. Uncertainty doesn't scare you, it informs you. Isolation doesn't weaken you, it protects the signal. The camera tightens again, half light, measured breath. People who once tried to outperform you are busy explaining themselves. People who once doubted you are hedging language. People who once ignored you are saving your work quietly. Not admiration, risk management. They're adjusting behavior around your presence, and that's the tell. Because power isn't who cheers. Power is who repositions, and you keep moving, not forward, not upward, but deeper. Deeper into leverage, deeper into optionality, deeper into a position where every choice creates asymmetry. No rush, no climax, no release, just sustained pressure, intelligent restraint, and a presence that keeps bending probability, not loudly, not theatrically, but consistently enough that the system no longer asks if you matter, only recalculates how much space it must give you each time you appear. The pressure doesn't dissipate, it settles, like weight added slowly, until the structure underneath either adapts or fractures. You notice it in subtle places. Response times change. Gatekeepers hesitate before saying no. Competitors mirror your cadence without understanding the reason for it. That's when influence graduates into environmental control. You're no longer reacting to the landscape. The landscape is responding to your positioning. This is where most people self-sabotage. By speaking too much at the wrong altitude, you don't. You understand that clarity is currency, and oversharing devalues it. You understand that mystery isn't confusion, it's unfinished information, and unfinished information keeps attention alive. Calm is still armor, but here, calm becomes a filter. Only serious signals get through. Only aligned opportunities survive the silence. Everything else fades without confrontation. That restraint sharpens perception. You begin seeing second-order effects while others argue first impressions. You anticipate reactions before they form. You recognize patterns not as threats, but as predictable scripts. Scripts are exploitable. You stop asking who's watching. You start noticing who's adjusting. That's the inflection point. Because applause follows spectacle. Adjustment follows authority. The tension loops again, slow burn, deliberate. You don't need to dominate rooms physically. Your absence already rearranges behavior. Conversations shift when your name surfaces. Plans get delayed until your stance is clear. Decisions pause. Waiting for a signal you haven't sent. That's not coincidence. That's gravity reaching escape velocity. Here's another extraction, precise and usable. Rule: visibility attracts attention. Scarcity commands respect. Mindset shift: stop proving capability, start managing access. Principle: what people can't predict, they can't neutralize. You become difficult to model, too controlled for chaos, too flexible for containment. And that frustrates systems built to optimize averages. You don't live in averages. You operate in edges, in margins others ignore, in moments between moments. That's where leverage hides. The beast steps back before precision. Again, every time. Because restraint isn't hesitation. It's selection. You choose when to press. You choose when to vanish. You choose when a single move replaces 1,000 words. The emotional intensity sharpens, not louder, sharper. You realize dominance isn't about winning every exchange. It's about deciding which exchanges matter at all. You disengage strategically. You conserve strategically. You strike strategically. And each time, the effect compounds. People who rely on noise exhaust themselves chasing relevance. People who rely on trends age overnight. People who rely on validation become predictable. Predictability is expensive. You priced yourself out of it. The visuals stay cinematic, slow motion, controlled depth, deliberate framing. Your focus narrows. Your tolerance tightens. Your standards harden quietly. No declarations. No rebranding theatrics, no emotional leakage, just refinement. The algorithm keeps recalibrating, not because it favors you, but because it recognizes signal density. You don't flood channels, you compress meaning. Every appearance carries weight. Every pause carries implication. Every decision carries asymmetry. That's when people stop asking how you did it and start asking how to survive it. Not rivalry, risk assessment. And you keep moving, adjusting angles, shifting tempo, preserving optionality, while tension hums underneath every frame, every metric, every quiet moment where the system stays alert, waiting for your next move, aware that whatever comes won't be loud, won't be rushed, won't be accidental, and won't be something it can easily reverse once it lands. The hum deepens, not louder, denser. You start noticing how resistance changes shape. It's no longer confrontation, it's delay, deflection, silence where enthusiasm used to be. That's not rejection, that's recalibration. They're trying to map you without triggering you, trying to predict without provoking, trying to benefit without committing. You see it instantly. Because once perception sharpens, behavior becomes transparent. This is where your advantage widens, not through force, but through contrast. While others over-explain, you understate. While others react publicly, you adjust privately. While others rush to be first, you arrive correct. Correct beats fast at scale, and scale is listening. You stop thinking in moments and start thinking in positions. Where to stand, when to be visible, how long to stay silent before motion becomes inevitable. The pressure cycles again, tightening, releasing, tightening. Because something subtle but irreversible is happening. People are no longer competing with you. They're competing with the version of themselves they were before they noticed you. That's a psychological fracture. It introduces doubt where confidence used to sit. It introduces hesitation where momentum used to live. It introduces comparison where identity used to feel stable, but to maintain asymmetry. Angles shift, tempo varies, patterns break just before they're learned. No climax, no release, only sustained precision, controlled pressure, and a presence that keeps altering trajectories quietly, forcing systems, observers, and competitors alike to remain alert, aware that the next movement won't be obvious, won't be crowded, won't be reversible, and won't arrive on anyone else's schedule but yours. The hum steadies, and then something changes, not outside, inside. The need to prove dissolves. The urge to react fades. The appetite for noise disappears completely. What's left is position. You're no longer playing the visible game. You're shaping the conditions it runs on. That's the final realization, the one that locks everything into place. Power was never about domination. It was about choice, density, the ability to wait without weakening, the ability to move without announcing, the ability to withdraw without losing ground. That's why they watch differently now. That's why the tone shifted. That's why even resistance learned restraint. Because you don't need momentum anymore. Momentum needs you. The algorithm doesn't reward effort. It rewards inevitability. And inevitability comes from standards that don't bend, timing that doesn't rush, an identity that doesn't leak. You became unreadable to those who rely on patterns, unshakable to those who rely on pressure, unavoidable to those who rely on denial. That's the real crown, not worn, not displayed, not defended, carried in how little you explain, carried in how precisely you choose, carried in how calmly you let outcomes speak in your place. They didn't lose sleep because you attacked. They lost sleep because they couldn't calculate you. And once calculation fails, hierarchy follows. So hold the silence, keep the pace uneven. Protect the edge that made everything reorganize the moment you arrived. Because at this level, you don't chase dominance. You embody it. And everything else, systems, attention, resistance, opportunity, keeps adjusting around that fact, long after the room goes quiet and the screen fades to black.